Welcome to Thunderbolt. Today we're talking about why should we learn how to fight. In order to do that, I have invited Tom, a great fighter, teacher, philosopher, and a musician.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Hi everyone. Yeah, nice to be here.
So again, let's get right into it. Why should we learn how to fight?
Yeah, so it's a great question, right? Kind of a surprising question too. It sounds, counterintuitive, but I think there are many reasons why fighting specifically actually is just a great thing for people to learn when they're young, old, maybe not that old, but yeah, especially sort of first half of life. I think it's a great thing to pursue. I actually have several reasons why I think it's really good. Mainly just, health is a big one, but also maybe some ones that people might not expect, like discipline or humility.
When I watch these mixed martial art professionals fighting in cages and show all this raw violence, I question myself. In this time and age where nonviolence and peace is so spoken out upon, why is it that martial art is getting even more and more violent?
Well, maybe I would push back on maybe not so more violent. People have been violent since the dawn of time, right? And I think that actually leads into why it has become so popular and why, even though peace is of course important, we should maybe lean into it a little bit, because I think it would be fair to say that humans have that sort of inbuilt, we may say innate aggression. If we kind of accept this theory of evolution kind of thing, or even if not, it's pretty commonly understood that humans do have an aggressive side that needs some release, both sort of emotionally, but also sort of neurobiologically too. We have certain chemicals racing through us and we need that kind of metaphorical release. And I think fighting, all sports actually kind of give that to a certain extent. But I think there's something unique about fighting, something very, primal about fighting.
I think it was Yuval Noah Harari, the author of the book *Sapiens*. In his book, there's a chapter that goes brother killer. And it says, there had been other human species on Earth at one time. There were kind of Cro-Magnon, Neanderthals. However, Homos, the reason why the Homo sapiens and the Homo family were able to stay and conquer the rest of the planet was because we had that instinct to fight, and we wanted to own it, and we wanted to claim what is ours.
Maybe that actually speaks to the core of fighting, which is channeling that instinct to dominate into something positive, which might be progress, or it could just be anything from economic progress to social progress to the progress of the species. Of course, if it's not handled well, it can go terribly. War and violence, and even just things like school bullying and falling out with family members. But if it is channeled in a positive way, and I would claim that martial arts specifically, not just fighting whenever you're upset, but specifically structured martial arts training, I think is, that's a really positive way just to focus that energy.
Cool. So with all that talk about martial arts, let's get definitions first. What is martial arts?
Yeah, that's really important, right? We've got to sort of define what we're talking about. So, so martial arts. The word itself is kind of intimidating. It literally means the art of war. Martial is just a word that pertains to anything to do with war. Colloquially speaking, people will be happy to know that that's not really what we're referring to here. It's basically a system of self-defense. A way of physically defending yourself. If someone were to attack you, you should be able, I'm not saying you should, but if you were to practice martial arts, the goal is to stop that from being a threat to your life or your safety.
That inspires me to ask you a question. You said an interesting word, self-defense. And I've always considered, like Asian martial arts especially, to be an arts of self-defense. Is it still like that? Like, the mixed martial art part of it, part of the world?
Yeah, so actually I would, this could be controversial in some places. It's very controversial in China actually. Modern consensus of physical combat is that these ancient Eastern, let's say, martial arts basically don't work in physical combat. If the opponent doesn't want you to do the things that you want to do to him, then he can stop you. Right. You know, it can look very cool, like in the martial arts movies, because we have various different kinds of martial arts, right? We have Aikido, which is the flowing one in the, you know, or sometimes old people do it in parks. And then we have like Kung Fu, which is the one in the old Chinese action movies.
Jackie Chan.
Yeah, Jackie Chan. And it's kind of consensus that those don't really work. And there are a lot of modern examples of people challenging those old sort of Kung Fu masters, and it goes terribly. And it's difficult to watch, actually. They just get immediately beaten. And it's thanks to the martial arts spirit of the person who's challenged them to actually not really hurt them, but just to do just enough to show that this actually doesn't work. Which leaves basically the 6 main modern martial arts, which are boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, judo, wrestling, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay. And those 6 are effective because?
Well, the main reason why they're effective is because they're tested in the general method of science, right? We have a hypothesis, will this work? If I try and punch you in the face, will it work? Boxing says yes, often. Yes. And so the main test that we have is sparring, right? Or actual combat, where we have 2 people and we have competitions, or we have just in-house, just sparring, which is where you try and do the thing that you learned in class to the other person who doesn't want you to do it. You know, the judo guy doesn't want to be thrown, and you got to try and throw him. And if you can't, then it doesn't work, and you have to keep practicing. And if people can make it work against resisting opponents, then we can say that this works. Which is where those other, you know, Aikido, Kung Fu, Karate, dare I say it, Taekwondo, actually fall short. Maybe at one point it worked, but it became so codified a sport that, for example, no punching to the head, you know, right? But if you come up against someone who has no qualms against punching you in the head, but you are at a significant disadvantage. I don't think anyone would really argue with that. So, but I'm actually not really suggesting that people go around getting punched in the head. So I would actually take off the list of martial arts I'm suggesting boxing, Muay Thai, and kickboxing. Modern science seems pretty conclusive in that, you know, subconcussive brain trauma, aka being hit in the head, is really bad for you. It turns out. What a surprise, right? Yeah. So I'm not really suggesting that people learn those, although they are fine and great martial arts, if not some of the best.
Okay. Earlier you had mentioned 3 good reasons why we should learn martial arts.
Yeah.
Could you expand on that?
Absolutely, yeah. So the 3 ones I'm suggesting are judo, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They've been tested. You don't have to get hit in the head. Let's go. That sounds great. And I think there's many reasons why, confidence, all kinds of things. But I think the main 3 that I like to focus on are health, discipline, and humility. Those are the 3 main reasons, I think.
How can one learn to be humble? Because learning how to fight, learning how to defend, and learning how to spar will eventually, I guess, build your ego.
Quite possibly, right? Yeah. I mean, this is the hardest one first, actually, I think. Maybe it's easy to see how it could be healthy. Maybe we can discuss that later or not. But humility is an interesting one, very counterintuitive. You would imagine someone would get good at fighting and be big and tough and I can beat anyone and become like an egomaniac, a narcissist, we might say, right? And I'm sure sometimes that happens, right? I'm sure that happens. But I think the general trajectory of someone's level of humility is up, meaning less ego, more humbleness over time when people practice these martial arts. For example, I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's not uncommon for us, we have like champions, and not just Jiu-Jitsu, like MMA champions. And so it's not uncommon for people who think they're very, very tough. Imagine like big guy, tattoos, mean face, come in and very intimidating and want to fight. I'm tough, I am hard, and I'm gonna learn this here and go out on the street and, hurt people. And sometimes you can really know that they're coming in with that energy. But the fun thing is that doesn't last very long because they quickly realize, and this is where the humility comes in, they quickly realize that they're not the toughest and they're probably not even the biggest.
Yes.
And, I weigh close, more or less 100 kilos and I've been held down against my will, unable to do anything by people 50, 60 kilos maybe. And it's a very humbling experience just to happen one time. Now imagine that again and again and again. You have to throw away all that other stuff of I can just beat people. And you have to focus on technique, understanding. You have to ask for help. And these are all things that bring you down. Not in a negative way, in a positive way. Your self-image is made maybe a little bit healthier. Maybe I'm not the best. Maybe I'm not the toughest. Maybe I'm not the strongest. Maybe I don't know everything. I'm not perfect, right? I'm not perfect, and we can all learn, and that realization is the beginning of a journey of learning, right? And so maybe humility is something that is necessary for that to begin, right? If you think you know everything, you can learn nothing. And so I think it's it's a shocking experience. And I should be clear, I think that Taekwondo and all these other sports are great.
Right.
I think all of these are great. I'm just specifically interested in martial arts, combat effective martial arts, because that's my thing. That's what I like to do. If I were a badminton player, I'd probably be telling everyone the virtues of badminton. But yeah, I think they're all great.
Good.
And they're all great because of the health benefits primarily, right? We can, we live very sedentary lives. We sit around a lot. At school we sit, at home we sit, looking at our phones, watching TV, studying. It's important for us as an animal to move. We were designed to move. Often we feel happiest when we've moved or are moving. And it's easy to forget that with Instagram, TikTok, these things. It's easy to forget that actually dopamine usually was coming from movement and doing things. Right. And that seems to have been short-wired. I forget the phrase. But so it's good to have that as a health reason.
Now, my third question about the three important reasons to learn martial art is discipline. Now, we all know discipline is important. Get up early, get your job done, get to bed. Don't do anything bad for your body.
Everyone is like, please.
Yes. Can we learn to be disciplined? Is it a skill?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel really strongly about this, that discipline is a skill we can learn. And one of the main reasons I do, support and encourage people to try martial arts is because it will teach you discipline. It will. Like just the act of going, turning up, being part of that community, losing, coming back, trying again, keep going. There was a book not too long ago called Grit. I always think of that word grit, the ability to keep going even when things get difficult. Because if we think about just what discipline is, we have these things that we want in life, long-term goals, things that we want, lose weight, get money, have a good job, form good relationships. But all of those things take work over time. And if we just always have a very, we just following our immediate desires, then it can be difficult to reach those goals. For example, if I want to lose weight, I should probably not eat so much cake, right? But sometimes I just really want some cake. Maybe just stressed, and your short-term desire of cake is really overcoming your long-term goal of losing weight. And usually that higher goal, that higher self, is what we're aiming for, and it can be so frustrating to kind of getting our own way by lacking discipline of meeting those goals. So I think the discipline aspect of it is just, it cannot be stated enough how important I think that is, and you can definitely learn it, definitely.
Do you think it will be beneficial for students to learn the basics of martial arts at school? I mean, why can't we get all our, say, sports or workout done through badmintons and jump ropes and volleyball, for instance?
I think martial arts in school will be great. Now, the question, why not volleyball and these other sports? I think they're all great, but I think things like martial arts, and I would actually include swimming, would be things that I would prefer over maybe soccer or other ball sports, because they are life skills. Self-defense is a life skill. Swimming is a life skill. kicking a soccer ball, maybe not, but I'm biased, right? I'm biased, but yeah. So I think, actually, I think it's in, I want to say Abu Dhabi, but I'm not sure. Somewhere in the United Arab Emirates, there is a school jiu-jitsu program. Every school in the country does it as their national sport, and they learn it, and they learn it in school, like Americans do with wrestling. Maybe not everyone learns it, but it's very prominent.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Yeah, teaches good work ethic, and it's not uncommon for athletes to become excellent businessmen. I mean, you're a businessman and you did wrestling, and maybe that grit and determination and discipline carried over somewhat from your athletic days to the business days. When things get difficult, don't quit. Find a way. Try and win. And I think that's really important. It'd be great to learn that in school.
Good. So, in a nutshell, learning how to fight is really about learning how to fight with yourself.
Yeah. Being better than you were yesterday. That kind of 1% improvement. And also just the freedom, of being healthy, being free to just do anything, right? And then the freedom of discipline. You can do those things that are hard in your life, but you need to do. And we all know what we need to do, right? And then the freedom of being humble, which sounds weird, but it's actually the freedom to do the right thing. To know what the right thing is and have space between your thought of, I don't want to do it, and your action of not doing it. Having space there to choose, actually, I'm going to do the right thing and not the wrong thing. So I think, freedom, and it's great.
Good. All right. Well, I guess that answers all our questions for today.
Yeah,
so
excellent.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.